According to the latest National Hurricane Center, Tropical Storm Melissa will continue moving slowly northwest through midweek, strengthening gradually and potentially reaching hurricane status by late Friday or early Saturday. The official forecast cone now covers much of the western Caribbean, from the southern coasts of Hispaniola to the Yucatan Channel. Forecast models disagree significantly about the longer-term track. Some, including the European ECMWF, curve Melissa northward sooner, steering it toward eastern Cuba and the Bahamas, while others, such as the American GFS model, take a more westerly path, pushing the storm south of Jamaica and across western Cuba before turning northeastward toward the Florida Straits. Despite these differences, one factor is consistent: Melissa will remain over open water for several days. With no significant land interaction to disrupt its development, the longer it stays over warm water, the more energy it will absorb from the ocean, increasing the risk of rapid intensification. High-resolution hurricane models are already indicating that scenario. The specialized HFS model, for instance, projects that Melissa could strengthen rapidly beginning Friday night, reaching Category 3 status by Saturday and possibly intensifying into a Category 4 hurricane by Sunday. With central pressure dropping below 910 millibars, that would make Melissa one of the most powerful October hurricanes ever recorded in the Caribbean. Other models are less aggressive but still show a major hurricane developing south of Jamaica. The ECMWF maintains the storm at Category 2 or 3 intensity while steering it northeastward across central Cuba early next week, with remnants moving through the Bahamas and near the Florida Peninsula around Wednesday or Thursday. The GFS model, meanwhile, keeps Melissa farther west, intensifying it to a major hurricane before turning it northward across western Cuba. The ICON model shows an intermediate path, bringing the storm extremely close to Jamaica by late Saturday and then northward into Cuba. Despite variations in detail, every model agrees that a powerful hurricane will be present in the western Caribbean by this weekend, posing a serious threat to land. Jamaica is expected to experience the most severe impacts. Rain bands associated with Melissa will likely begin affecting the island late Thursday, with conditions deteriorating rapidly on Friday as the storm slows to a crawl nearby. Torrential rainfall between 500 and 800 millimeters is expected, with localized totals exceeding 1,000 millimeters in mountainous regions. Such rainfall would inevitably lead to widespread flooding, mudslides, and infrastructure damage, particularly in southern and western parishes. Along the coast, dangerous surf and a possible storm surge are anticipated. In Haiti, the situation could become equally dire. Even moderate rainfall in that country often leads to devastating flash floods and landslides because of its steep topography and lack of vegetation. With Melissa's outer rain bands already spreading across the region, accumulations of 300 to 600 millimeters are possible across the southern half of the country. The Dominican Republic will also face flooding, especially in southern provinces, with up to 400 millimeters of rain possible before the storm finally moves away. In Cuba, where the storm may make direct landfall between Sunday and Tuesday, sustained winds could exceed 150 kilometers per hour. Central and western Cuba should prepare for storm surges up to 3 meters and rainfall totals of 2 to 400 millimeters. Major flooding in the mountains and lowlands is a distinct possibility. If Melissa continues on a northeasterly course after passing Cuba, hurricane conditions could reach parts of the Bahamas by midweek. Southeastern Florida may also experience squalls, heavy rainfall, and dangerous rip currents, even if the storm does not make landfall. At this time, the probability of direct U.S. landfall is low, around 5%, but the forecast remains highly uncertain. All residents of the Bahamas and Florida Keys are advised to monitor updates closely over the coming days. Beyond the threat of strong winds, the greatest hazard may come from rainfall. Because of Melissa's extremely slow movement, rain could accumulate to extraordinary levels. Some computer models estimate as much as 1,200 millimeters, nearly 50 inches, of rain in parts of the Caribbean. Such totals would cause catastrophic flooding and widespread destruction. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency has already activated early warning protocols, urging residents in flood-prone areas to move to higher ground. Power outages, washed-out roads, and communication failures are all likely once the storm settles in. Environmental conditions across the region strongly favor further strengthening. Sea surface temperatures exceed 30 degrees Celsius, with warm water extending deep below the surface, providing a limitless energy source. Wind shear, currently moderate, is expected to decrease later this week, allowing Melissa's core to become vertically aligned, a key requirement for intensification. Atmospheric moisture is increasing, and the Madden-Julian oscillation has shifted into a favorable phase for tropical development, promoting rising air and persistent thunderstorm growth across the Caribbean. All these factors suggest that Melissa may undergo one or more episodes of rapid intensification before it makes landfall somewhere in the Greater Antilles. Satellite and radar data confirm these trends. Visible and infrared imagery reveal increasingly symmetrical cloud patterns, and microwave satellite passes have detected a developing eye wall on the storm's southern side. Lightning activity has increased sharply within the inner core, another indication of strengthening convection. Radar stations in Jamaica have begun picking up heavy showers and thunderstorms on the outer bands, and conditions there will deteriorate quickly over the next 48 hours. Forecasters now see two main scenarios for Melissa's eventual path. In the first scenario, the storm turns northward sooner, crossing near Haiti and eastern Cuba before accelerating toward the Bahamas. This would produce catastrophic rainfall in Hispaniola, followed by hurricane impacts in the Bahamas and potentially tropical storm-force winds along the Florida coast. In the second scenario, Melissa drifts farther west, intensifies south of Jamaica, and then curves northeast across western Cuba into the Florida Straits. That track would bring devastating effects to Jamaica and western Cuba, while the United States might experience coastal impacts from rain and high surf. At present, ensemble data slightly favors the second scenario, but the difference between them is narrow. The next 48 hours will be decisive in determining which path the storm takes. Although Melissa is the primary focus, the continental United States faces its own weather challenges. A large upper-level trough forming over the western states is expected to generate several rounds of severe weather as it moves eastward. Thunderstorms will begin across Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas on Thursday and Friday, producing damaging winds, large hail, and isolated tornadoes. By Saturday, the severe threat will shift into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, accompanied by heavy rainfall and localized flooding. On Sunday and Monday, a more organized storm system will emerge over the Central Plains, potentially leading to a regional outbreak of severe weather from Iowa to Illinois and Missouri. As the system progresses into the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley early next week, it will bring heavy rain, gusty winds, and much cooler temperatures. Behind it, a strong surge of cold air from Canada will drop temperatures by 10 to 20 degrees Fahrenheit across much of the central and eastern United States, signaling the arrival of true autumn weather. The nation is now divided by sharp temperature contrasts. The western and southern states remain hot, with readings near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, while cooler air dominates the northern plains and Great Lakes. As the upcoming cold front sweeps eastward, much of the country will feel a noticeable chill, while a ridge of high pressure builds again in the west, bringing a brief return of warmth by the following weekend. These shifting patterns may also influence the future path of Melissa, depending on how the jet stream aligns with the developing tropical system. Globally, meteorologists attribute the sudden uptick in tropical activity to the current phase of the Madden-Julian oscillation. For weeks, much of the Atlantic basin was suppressed by sinking air, which limited convection and storm formation. That has now changed. Rising air is returning across the Caribbean and western Atlantic, fueling thunderstorms and lowering atmospheric pressure. This pattern not only supports Melissa's growth but could lead to additional systems forming later in October. Although the hurricane season is nearing its end, conditions will likely remain favorable for at least another few weeks. Governments throughout the Caribbean are taking precautionary measures. Emergency agencies urge residents to prepare now, stock up on essentials such as water, food, and batteries, and secure homes against high winds. Fishermen are advised to remain in port, as sea conditions will deteriorate rapidly. Even in areas not directly in the storm's path, outer bands may produce flash floods and landslides. Authorities emphasize that once the storm intensifies, emergency response may become impossible in isolated areas. Early preparation is critical. If Melissa becomes a major hurricane, it will join a short list of powerful late-season storms that have struck the Caribbean in modern history. October hurricanes such as Mitch in 1998 and Wilma in 2005 began under similar conditions: warm waters, low wind shear, and a blocking ridge that trapped the storm in place. Both caused widespread destruction and loss of life. The atmospheric setup this week bears a resemblance to those historical events, underscoring why forecasters are taking this system so seriously. Humanitarian organizations are preparing for possible disaster. The United Nations and the Red Cross are coordinating with local governments in Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba to pre-position relief supplies, including food, medical equipment, and portable shelters. Given the likelihood of road closures and communication outages, early deployment will be essential. Local hospitals have been placed on standby for potential mass casualty situations, and regional emergency management centers are monitoring the situation around the clock. Looking beyond the next 10 days, some long-range models suggest that another tropical wave may follow Melissa's path later next week, as conditions across the Caribbean remain favorable. For now, though, all attention remains focused on the current system. Meteorologists caution that the hurricane season is not over yet, and communities must stay alert until the threat has completely passed. To summarize, Tropical Storm Melissa is strengthening south of Hispaniola and is expected to become a major hurricane within the next 5 to 7 days. The storm poses a serious threat to Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic, with catastrophic rainfall likely due to its slow movement. A possible impact on the Bahamas or Florida cannot be ruled out next week. Across the continental United States, a separate weather system will trigger severe storms and a significant temperature drop early next week. Residents in all affected regions should prepare now, follow official forecasts, and heed the warnings of local authorities. This remains a rapidly evolving situation, and updates will be issued as new information becomes available. While the outlook may appear alarming, preparedness and vigilance can save lives. Residents of the Caribbean and coastal regions of the United States are urged to stay informed and remain calm. The forecast may change, but preparation should not. This has been a special weather bulletin on Tropical Storm Melissa. Stay tuned for continuous coverage and further updates in the coming days. Stay safe, stay informed, and good night.